So let's talk about Trick or Treat, which is a movie that I have not seen before, and I really, for a long time, have wanted to see it, but I just never have had the push to see it. And now I've really been in such a horror movie craze that I want to see a lot more horror movies that I've missed. And I'm not a horror expert in the slightest, but there's a lot, a shit ton that I want to see. So I thought I might as well see this one because this I always heard this one's great. This is one that I always hear people praise. Like, this is a great movie. Um, and Trick or Treat, watching it, I thought this was really, really awesome. This was a great horror movie. It didn't really scare me, but horror movies don't scare me really. I just think that they, for the entertainment value alone, are worth watching for me. And I thought that this was incredibly entertaining. I liked how this is an kind of an anthology movie, and it's got four different plots going on at the same time in the same night on Halloween. I think that's really cool, and I think that's cool how they incorporate them really well together. They all fit in a narrative that connects, and I think that's really cool that they use this little kid character named Sam who's dressed up in this outfit, who you realize later is not a real kid. Like, he's literally like a living pumpkin. Like, his head is a pumpkin head, and it's disturbing. But I like the fact that we follow this character around during these situations and the four things that are going on. Sam's one of the stories. The other one's about Anna Paquin, who just wants to have sex, and then you've got Wilkins' character, who is this crazy murderer who murders this kid and is trying to murder his own kid, and then you realize that he just murdered the one kid, and his own kid is going to help him carve the head of the dead kid, which was really crazy. And then you've got one with the story of the school bus that went off the cliff, with these kids just kind of trying to investigate it. And I think that all three of these are really cool. I thought the Anna Paquin one was really funny because it's just about her wanting sex, and the way it turns on you at the end is awesome. Because whenever she finally gets it, she becomes a werewolf, and everybody around her that she's friends with are werewolves, and that was such a crazy ass twist that just worked really well for me because it was so funny, and just how it went insane, but it felt like it worked really well just being part of that. Like, it didn't give a random twist that I felt like ruined it. I felt like the twist in this movie in that segment alone is really cool, and that was really worth it. And one of the coolest moments in the movie, whenever you realize she is a werewolf, and then all these other people that are around her, all these other girls, are taking off their skin. And it's creepy, but it's also hilarious at the same time, because you're just like, what? Like, really? That's happening right now? But in a good way. I really thought that was a great twist. And I like the Dylan Baker one with how Wilkins kills this kid, and I think it's the kid from Bad Santa, but he murders this kid, and then it looks like he's gonna murder his own son. And I love the fact how it's self-aware again and funny in this, where he goes up to the son and he goes, "Let's go down to the basement." And he gets a knife. You see him stab something, and it makes a big noise, and then you think that it's his own kid that he gets, but then whenever they look down, it's that kid again, the fat kid from Bad Santa, and his head is just on a plate, and they're gonna carve it, and it ends there. But I think that that's funny too, because it's funny because of him trying to cover it up, trying to cover up burying this kid, and his neighbor is nosy and keeps talking to him while his kid in the house is yelling at him. So he's trying to be quiet and trying to not get caught, but it's funny with all these things blocking his way of trying to finally do it. And I think that was really funny too. And the school bus thing, I thought it was cool, but I felt like out of the four, it was my least favorite, I guess. And that's not a bad thing. It's just, I don't know, that's the one that's not as memorable to me out of the four segments. And I thought that it was fine. It wasn't one that I thought was the best one out of all of them, but it was fine. And I loved the fourth segment with Sam, where you actually get him in like the whole thing, in the whole segment. And I like the idea that he fights off this guy that you realize was, I think, the bus driver. And whenever it ends with that arc, it has the kids come back to him trick-or-treating, from the kids from the bus crash trick-or-treating at the door to that guy. And I thought that was a cool way to end the movie. And I liked how the movie also does a good job of making these stories happen along the same time. And they do kind of a 180 where, or a full 360, where like it starts with Leslie Bibb's character who gets killed, and then by the end of the movie it starts again, but it's like the story is non-linear and trying to just give these different stories, but it kind of is confusing, but in a good way, where like you just don't understand which one went first, because it does kind of follow, it's kind of like Pulp Fiction, where like it follows these different plots, but they kind of do it out of order on purpose. And I think that it was fun because of that. Like, it made me go, okay, this is what happens when this happens. And whenever it got to the end, it went full circle in a way. And I thought that was great. And I thought that this was just overall a fun horror movie. I thought it was a fun Halloween movie. This one bleeds Halloween imagery and atmosphere. The atmosphere is great in this movie. The humor is great in this movie. I like how it's kind of self-aware, but not in the way of Scream. It's just kind of like, for example, at the end, whenever Sam is trying to kill that bus driver guy, and the line he says, "You gotta be fucking kidding me!" Like he's like, because whenever Sam's hand comes at him, like it's still alive. That's a funny joke because it's not like Scream where it's trying to be self-aware, and I do like Scream a lot, but it's trying to be different than that, where it's like, oh, you know that this is happening, that it's silly, but it's not like they're referencing other movies. They're just like, it's funny as well as trying to be scary, and I thought that they did it really well. And the character of Sam, I thought that was a really cool thing to connect all of these stories, and I thought that it was a really cool design. The sack head was a really, really cool design. One of the coolest designs I've seen in a while in a horror movie. And whenever he gets the mask taken off, or the bag taken off of his head, it's really awesome because it's really creepy and really gross how this pumpkin head thing looks. And it really is a cool effect whenever you see whenever it doesn't have the sack on its head. It really looks awesome and just a really cool design overall. But the movie overall, like, is really great. I really enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was a really, really solid horror movie. I thought it was really entertaining, really fun. All the performances were great. The story was cool, connecting all of these characters together. They're all good stories, and they all are interesting in their own right, and they all are cool how they've centered around Halloween and how every one of them is different and unique to the other ones. So overall, I thought Trick or Treat was awesome. I really enjoyed it. I can't believe it took me this long to watch it. But overall, I really enjoyed it. So thanks guys for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.